So.
Well, you're awesome. That was fabulous.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Woohoo!
As long as you're comfortable.
Yeah,
As long
okay.
as you don't move around too much after we start, okay?
All right.
Just speak up. All right, let's go back and just tell me a little bit about yourself.
So, I'm a senior in high school. I go to Fountain Fort Carson. I live with my aunt and uncle now, and I have been on and off since my freshman year of high school. So, I just like it down there better. The school in Monument wasn't working for me after my accident, so it's a better place for me.
What are some of your interests?
Um, I have two. I want to go into equine training and management, and I also want to become a mechanic at some point in my life. Just because of stuff that I love to do and I'm good at it.
Great. Well, why don't you tell us a little bit about what happened in April from your side?
So, April 7th, 2010, I was playing around with a shotgun. I had been bullied all that year, and it was on my mind about what it felt like to hold a gun up to your face and all that stuff. So I didn't check the gun because I didn't know much gun safety back then, and there was actually a bullet still left in the gun. So I was shot, and then I went down on my knees, face first, and I realized what happened. I wasn't dead, so I got up, opened the door, and went out to my dad, who was in the kitchen. So he called the police department, fire department, whatever, and handed me some towels. And then I turned around. One of our neighbors had came over, and she was at the door whenever I passed there. So I looked up at her, and then I ended up going back into my room and laying face down because I didn't know if I was going to live or not. So.
So tell us a little bit about maybe some of the treatment that you went through.
I went through about 12, 13, 14 different surgeries. They had to remove some of my leg to put it in for a jaw. They did a whole bunch of skin grafts for everything and pretty much just rebuilt my face.
What do you believe saved you?
Just the whole chain of events, how everything was right there at the right time, like the police department being right 1 mile down the road, and then the ambulance being at our Safeway. It was just everything worked out that way.
And how are you feeling today?
I feel pretty good today. Everything's gone good since I've been out of the hospital and been down to the school I've been wanting to be at.
So give us your opinion of Denver Health and what they did for you.
It's just a great hospital. Whenever I was in the pediatric uh, ICU and all that stuff over there during the medical stuff, I became really close with all the nurses and all my doctors and everything. They made it feel kind of like a home away from home for being in a hospital. It's really kid friendly.
And how about the adolescent psychiatry unit after you spent time in the medical?
Oh, it was great after I got used to it. The first night I wasn't really looking forward to it being away from my parents since I had been with them for 2 months straight, having them there all the time. But I got used to it, got to know a lot of the people there, a lot of the kids, and it was really a good experience. It helped me out a lot with dealing with school and everybody outside of the hospital itself.
What would you say to the audience that's going to see this on that night to help them understand what Denver Health is all about?
It's all about helping people who have been hurt. I mean, they treat everybody as nice as they can be, and really with the kids, they work with them a lot. In the adolescent center and then in the pediatric center, they help with them a lot with making it comfortable for them.
Are you open to talking a little bit more about your state of mind when the gunshot wound occurred?
Like, what do you mean by that?
So I know you said a little bit that there has been some bullying and you didn't know what the feeling would be like. And is that kind of just where you were mentally?
Yeah, that's where I was mentally. And at that point, my parents had been working so much to where I didn't feel really open to talk to them about what was going on because I didn't want to bother them. And I finally opened up after I told them what had happened and why it happened like it did. They started coming home a lot more, spending time with the family and all that. So,
Did your time in analyst psychiatry help with that state of mind and help with?
oh yeah, it really helped with that, with me just how to tell them and how to tell them to where it didn't hurt them, even though my dad went off the deep end whenever I told him about it. So, yeah.
What would you say, I mean, is there a platform here where you could say a little bit about bowling and?
It's just, there's two sides of it. Usually the bully is also being bullied, so to make himself feel better, herself feel better, they bully someone else. And it just hurts everyone. It makes them feel worthless and everything. So, I'm against it, but I know it's never going to stop. Just because of how our world is.
Awesome. Is there anything that we didn't think to ask you that you'd like to share while you're speaking to?
I think that's it.
Probably a stupid question. Was there a lot of pain or did?
Well, that's a really good question because whenever it happened, I just had so much adrenaline built up after it happened to where I couldn't even feel it anymore. Like I was racing to find help to where the pain was just gone. And I think that's what helped a lot with the blood too, because I wasn't stressing over it. I was just trying to find somebody to help me. And once I knew the paramedics was there, I just couldn't feel anything. But with all the surgeries, they hurt a lot.
So the pain was on the bad side?
Yeah, yeah, not the initial thing. It was just after surgeries.
Do you have more surgeries to go or what?
No, nope. The last one was I think last year, or the year before. They tried to open up my nose again, but it didn't work. So it closed back up, and I'm done now. So.
When you realized what had happened, were you shocked or were you relieved or what were some of the feelings you had?
Well, I was just shocked that there was actually something in that gun because I didn't think about it before to check it. So it was just like, oh my god, this did happen, and now I just need to find somebody to save me so I don't actually die. So.
And you were 14?
Yep, 14. It's been 4 years now.
Were you able to, or let me see, after you were hospitalized and after you were discharged and you went back home, you did change schools?
Yeah. Well, I initially went back to the same school I was going to. I just went from the middle school into the high school since it was my freshman year. And I went back there and I was still getting called names, so I was just like, I'm done with this. Can't do it anymore. So I moved down to my aunt and uncle's house, and I did online school for that year. And then sophomore year, I finally went down to Fountain, Fort Carson. And ever since then, the people down there, since it's more of a military-based school, they've accepted me. They don't really bully me or do any of that because they're used to it from the soldiers coming home from Iraq with the same issues that I've had. So I think that's a big deal of why they haven't said anything about it down there.
And did you ride horses?
I actually trained one of my grandpa's horses for riding, but we have 6 draft horses that we use for work. So, yeah.
And you were able to finish that year of school in 2010?
Nope, I was in here until June 7th, so it was a month after school released, or a few weeks.
Did you have to go back then?
Nope, they passed me. We actually had my continuation up here at the hospital. All my teachers came up and gave me my award and all that. So it was pretty cool.
Anything else?
What's your state of mind now? How do you feel? What do you want to do? You already sort of hit some of these, but talk to Gary and tell him what.
I feel a lot better now that it's happened. It's allowed me to come out more and talk to people about what had happened, and whenever I see bullying at school, I try to stop it. I talk to them about it, and sometimes it helps, sometimes it doesn't. But it's really made me a better person, I say.
That's what you learned here?
Yeah, I definitely learned that here.
Yeah, good,
Yeah.
good, okay. So anyone else over here?
We'll go with Becky afterwards, and so we can maybe pick a new.
Yeah, we'll
Background?
maybe switch
Yeah.
it, so, all right.
Okay.
All right, so just without repeating the question, you know where we're after, so let's talk.
So I guess what finally made me break and tell my parents what the intent was behind this was the help of Megan just talking to me about it, saying it's going to be okay to tell them and that they really want to know just what happened and to make them feel more secure about what happened, making sure it wasn't just them or actually what was going on in my mind that night. So,
And you couldn't actually talk at that time?
no, I was writing everything down on the whiteboard because I could still write, read, do all that stuff. So we finally figured out a system for all that.
So was it hard to write that out?
It was hard just because I was emotional about it. So that's why I had Megan tell my parents, and then I would come in on what I wanted to say about whenever she was talking about it.
And do you think your parents heard it all that night, or did they have a hard time believing it or understanding it?
Probably not. I mean, back then they might have just because of how everything was. With them always being busy and all that, but they would have understood what I was going through and all that.
Do you think they were surprised?
They were definitely surprised when it happened. Whenever I finally came out and said it. But I think it was a sigh of relief to finally know what exactly happened to me and what I was going through.
Do you remember anything that you wrote?
Not really. I remember writing down, telling Megan what happened, and then her telling them. I don't remember exactly what I wrote.
Do you remember what she might have said to them?
That there was bullying going on. I was thinking about what it would feel like to hold a gun to my face and pull the trigger and all that. So I know that's some of what I wrote. I just can't remember everything.
Yeah, I think that's great. Thank you.
All right, yeah.
Or you respond the way you need to. You be the decider on
Okay.
how far we should go on
Okay.
this stuff. Okay. Well, let's talk about his situation first,
Okay.
then we'll go through these other things. So I guess when you were handed the case, go ahead and just fill us in on what you saw and how you took it from there.
So initially, when the case was handed off, it was presented as being a pretty serious, likely suicide attempt. That was sort of the presumption. When Cody and I met for the first time, he said no, it was very clearly an accident, and he held on to that for a couple of weeks at least.